To the Sunwolves versus the Crusaders. Let's get the right around, even though it wasn't in Japan. The game was played in Brisbane in Australia. The score finished 14-49 by to the Crusaders. Comfortable bonus point win, as I think we all expected. But perhaps not the performance, well, actually, definitely not the performance that we were expecting, because at half time it was only 7-14. In that first half, we had a whole bunch of Sunwolves errors, dropping the ball, etc. But then again, the Crusaders still also are knocking it on as well. Luke Romano must have knocked it on 2 or 3 times early doors, and it was really kind of messy in that period. The Crusaders eventually didn't knock on, created the overlap, and overwent Christie on the right-hand side, only for the Sunwolves to come in and come back. Eventually, they bashed over Ben Hine, their number 4, the lock, got his first ever Super Rugby try, I think it is. Apparently, he's had some real injury issues with his knee, so fantastic for him to come back and have have that. It wasn't clean play by the Sunwolves then, but they were just hungry for the ball, and yeah, went really well. The Crusaders came straight back, and Reese, they managed to work Reese free on the right. He went to score, and he was very active, particularly in that second half. There, I mean, this was, I say, not a great performance by the Crusaders. 17 turnovers. I mean, that is really not good at all. 14 breaks, clean breaks, but only managed, but a lot of those end up with knock-ons, and so whilst they scored, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tries, they weren't all from those clean breaks. And you've got to say they were. It wasn't. This wasn't a great performance by the Crusaders. Losing 3 of their lineouts didn't help either. But they dominated possession. They dominated territory. On the whole, in the first half, the Sunwolves were tackling at 90%. They got tired. It dropped down to 80 by the end. And you've got to say that's where. I mean, they made 176 tackles. Massive workload by the Sunwolves, and eventually they were going to tire out. Let's be honest. Second half, Lester Vainuku made the break, and Romano bashed over Vainuku, bouncing out of a tackle. Garth April made 2 breaks. The first one, he should have kept the ball in hand. He puts it on the boot, got it through, and Crusaders wrap things up. If he kept it in hand, past it, maybe there would have been a try. Second time he does it, dancing feet, goes through a gap. No, there's nothing really on. And off he goes to score. Spots basically a bit of a couple of forwards not connected well, and off he goes. And I'm saying off he goes. You can probably hear my phone ringing in the background there, so I'm going to try and ignore that briefly. But I say Reese had a good game. So did Bridge. 17 runs by him. He got himself involved. I say they had a lot of territory, a lot of possession, and you've got to take your hat off to the defence of the Sunwolves. 22 tackles by Shorts, Mitch Jacobson 14, Downey 14, Stolberg 18, Hines 16 tackles plus that try. And serious chunk of work there by the Locks and the Lucies. Also, Morena, the 13, got through 10 tackles, and Dargaville 11 at the back there. So some serious shifts of work put in there by the Sunwolves. Well done to them. Maria missed 7 tackles, and he made 10. So yeah, obviously he had a lot of stuff going down his channel. And you've got to say, yeah, congratulations. Look, well fought by the Sunwolves. Yes, it's a big scoreline, but they didn't get much ball, and they ended up being on the end of it a lot. Discipline held up pretty well. Tio with a couple, unfortunately, a couple of penalties, but yeah, on the whole, discipline wasn't too bad. And yeah, sure, the Sunwolves were outplayed as we expected, but this was not a good performance by the Crusaders, as I say. Far too many spilt balls. And look at that, 8 scrums for the Sunwolves, all by obviously knock-ons, and not all the knock-ons went to scrums. Obviously, if you play advantage and you then obviously it does, you don't get the scrum. But so not great by the Crusaders. Actually, player stats I think do actually show me who turned over, who with turnovers conceded. Let me have a quick look if I bring that up. Yeah, Luke Romano, 3 turnovers conceded, a couple by Grace, then a Brate, a couple by Brett Cameron as well. Brett Cameron, yeah, not a great game for him again. Or Burke. I mean, Burke dropped the ball in his own end zone and touched it down. The Crusaders turned the ball over and went down to score, but even so, those errors would get punished by better sides than the Sunwolves. And the Sunwolves, let's be honest, they've had a real tough season. A, they've been pulled together at the last minute. B, they're having to live away from home. Yeah, everything's sort of going against them. So good to see they turned up, put in a fighting performance, even if they didn't get anything out of this game. At least, look, they're still fighting, and that's great to see. All the talk, though, let's be honest, isn't going to be about the game. It's all going to be about, is Super Rugby continuing or not? After Jacinda Ardern said that basically anyone who comes into the country after Sunday midnight has to self-isolate for 14 days, which basically means teams cannot arrive and play rugby in New Zealand. So a lot of criticism on Twitter of SANZAAR saying, look, give us an announcement. What are you going to do? So look, guys, everyone in South Africa is asleep. You've just had this announcement by the New Zealand government. New Zealand government won't have told them ahead of time. Look, they'll announce it like everyone else. And obviously SANZAAR now need to sit down. They'll have scenario planned it, but they need to wait until South Africa wake up, have a conference call, say, right, look, guys, the scenario we dealt with was X, Y, Z. Do we all agree? Yes, we do. Right, let's make an announcement. So just calm down, folks. These games that are going to get impacted by this travel arrangement aren't until for 7 days, until next weekend. So let's just let's take a chill pill, and let's not jump on the back of sports administrators needlessly when we don't need to. I think that they can be it doesn't just affect. It affects all sorts of sports as well. Yeah, don't worry. I know it's not just Super Rugby, but this is a rugby union channel, not an NRL or football channel. Hence, but so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. All the people who have been able to come out and say things are basically trans-Tasman competitions, so they're all awake in Australia and New Zealand, and so they can handle it. It's not like they're not some global competitions the same way that the Super Rugby is. So let's just take a chill pill, and let's not try and force knee-jerk decisions. Let people make the decisions in time, and do it. I think there are some imaginative things that could happen, such as maybe run derby games, so play home and away within your conference, and then just the 3 conference leaders play some sort of final series. Come once if things are better by June, for example. Do something like that maybe, or if there's a location where we say that that everyone agrees is safe to sort of go to and come back from, then perhaps they could all go to somewhere like, say, Fiji or something, be tested and come back again. I don't know, but I think there is some options here, and people can be a bit more imaginative than just saying, "Yep, let's just cancel it." Remember, Super Rugby, unlike things like the Six Nations or the Gallagher Premiership, which are much more kind of crowd orientated. Super Rugby is very much a TV product rather than the crowd product. Let's be honest. And so playing behind closed doors isn't such an issue for Super Rugby in the same way that it would be for leagues in the UK. So need to look into this. And Global Rapid Rugby is also taking place. Now, that's just 6 teams. I think they could be really imaginative. I think it's a real good chance they could continue. And being a brand new league, they could perhaps get a whole bunch of fans. I'm going to be sending an email to them. I have some contacts there saying, look, hey, how about doing something like XYZ? Because I think there's a real opportunity for them in this window if they take it. But we'll have to wait and see if they will. Let's see if we can have something imaginative and actually have something to watch. We're all going to be stuck at home anyway, twiddling our thumbs. So it would be nice to have something to watch. I know people are saying, hey, it's just sport. But it's not just sport, okay? We've already heard a lot of commentators and cameramen in the UK who are going, well, I'm suddenly out of work for the next foreseeable future. How am I going to pay my mortgage? So, look, it's not just... yes, it is just sport in one sense, but in another sense, it's also a whole bunch of people's livelihoods and incomes. And we don't want people sort of having to go into liquidation, because if we can help it, and if there are imaginative solutions that we can come up with. I understand people saying, look, that applies also to restaurants, bars. Yes, it does apply to those people as well. You're quite right. And the more that we can keep commerce moving, the better on the whole. Now, I understand, but it has to be done in a way that is safe for the population. So if there are ways to do that, let's do it. If there aren't, then obviously cancel. So be it. And I've been getting accused of saying ignoring advice. No, not necessarily. Look, in New Zealand, we're not banning mass gatherings yet. Maybe that will be done on Monday, Tuesday next week. Who knows? But at the moment, we don't. So travelling around the country isn't restricted at all in New Zealand currently either. So look, there's levels of advice there's a different advice in different locations. Just because, say, somewhere like Italy is in total lockdown, the advice here is different. And look, it's not about just ignoring the advice. So Twitter's going to be fun for the next 24 hours or 48 hours as we discuss these kind of things. I'm probably going to put out a video looking at some of the suggestions that possibly that could happen for Super Rugby. Let me know your thoughts if you've got thoughts down below as to how Super Rugby could go ahead or at least keep some things going. I'll be interested in hearing that as well. So thank you. Enjoy whatever rugby you can watch this weekend. Don't forget, Global Rapid Rugby is available outside New Zealand on YouTube, on the Rugby Pass channel, and also in New Zealand on Sky. So do check out those games as well.